I was very excited for that because I've done a lot of, in the last year, like last year's training. So last year's quarterfinals, I missed by 7 spots. So I changed a lot of training for this year. And a big part of it was conditioning. And I was doing a lot more conditioning pieces in that. So I was ready to test that. Like I've done a lot of running. And you would not have been able to say that I'd done any of it. I got on the floor. The bike went amazingly. I was so happy. Like I was one of the first, people off the bike, like not fast or anything. And I touched the sled and it would not move.
Hello and welcome. Today I'm here with Dane.
Hi.
And Dane is miraculous child coming out of, well, we all talk about CrossFit coaching,
Yeah.
CrossFit Games, the season, because Dane is fairly successful CrossFit athlete.
Yeah.
And 2 weeks ago, he finished the semifinals, which he kind of got there as a wild card, right?
Yeah. So there was the backfill. So I finished, there was top 30 that went, and I qualified as, well, I was 32nd, so I missed it by 2.
Okay.
And then 5 people, you got an option of like if you accept or deny the invitation, and 5 people from the male side denied it, so they went to the next 5.
Yeah. Cool. We'll get to all of that.
Yeah.
First of all, I need to start with this very specific topic. I never actually asked you about it directly, but you are from Zimbabwe.
Yes.
For people who don't watch the video, Dane is definitely not looking like an African. He's a white guy, and you could easily match him with Denmark or Germany or any other Europe country or US. Like very European, Western looking. So tell me about that. Like, what is the story?
I might butcher the history a bit, but there was I was born and raised in Zim, and my parents were born. My mom was born in South Africa. My dad was born in Zimbabwe as well. But long ago, there was when I think the British came across, and then colonized Zim, and it was called Rhodesia. And then years later, I don't know how many years later, it actually was not. It was pretty recent for history. And then black people took over. The African people took over, and there was a war again. And then they took over, and it became Zimbabwe. So I don't know what you call that when they recolonized, I guess.
Okay. So they took back the colonized part.
But it was. We were like a British colony, and then which was Rhodesia, and then it's come back to Zimbabwe now.
All right.
It's changed to Zimbabwe, which was, I don't know how long ago.
And
that's before my time. That's before my dad's time.
Okay. Yeah. So, and you are descendant of some of the people who came as from UK, basically.
Yeah, my surname is actually French Huguenot.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know too much of my family history because that's also all over the place. But yeah, if you speak to me, my nationality would be Zimbabwe.
Okay. And your language?
So English is my first language. You would say Afrikaans would probably be my second language, so South African, but I don't speak that too much. But that's because your mom was from there, yeah? So my dad can speak his family, and that's from South Africa. He can speak Afrikaans fluently, and so can my mom, but we never really, because we grew up in Zimbabwe, we spoke English, we never really spoke Afrikaans. The only time we spoke Afrikaans was if we didn't want the people around us to hear what we were saying.
So decoy.
I guess that's like any language with anybody.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, so I can understand a bit of Afrikaans, but if like Pete from the gym, if he speaks Afrikaans to someone, I can't really understand it, but I can piece together some things.
Okay.
So
you get the context.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is a population now? This will be like Zimbabwe quiz.
Yeah, I'm not very good at this. I'm gonna be.
Well, it's just from your experience. Like, what is a ratio of white people and then original Africans in Zimbabwe? Like you are like pretty minority, right?
Yeah, I'd want to say 90-10, like 90% original and then 10% white. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if we're allowed to say black and white.
Yeah,
anymore,
you can say. I mean, it's not any offensive way. So you can say.
Yeah, it's probably 90-10. There's, maybe even a little bit more towards like 95-5.
And is it like you are not really in touch with them, and there is or it's all merged together?
Like merged together. I mean, everybody has like, there's no hard feelings, or there's no like, it's there's a lot of people that are like, were passionate about Zimbabwe. Like, I love Zimbabwe, it's my home. There are obviously pros and cons to it, but
well, you live in Dubai, right?
Yeah, but for me to get anywhere else in the world is a struggle.
The passport,
Oh, shit. But no, there's like, it's all mixed. Like, the school I went to was mixed together. There was a lot of different religions actually, and then you get your schools that are, the government schools are mainly probably actually just black people, and then the private schools are more mixed.
Okay.
But yeah.
All right. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Dane, you're 21 now.
20.
20. Oh, shit. Okay. Sorry.
It's okay.
Well, that's 5%. I increased it by 5%. Okay. So you're 20 now.
Yes.
When you started with CrossFit, and how did you, because you started in Zimbabwe.
Yes.
So how that happened? Because I would, out of knowing nothing about Zimbabwe, I wouldn't assume there is a big CrossFit movement in Zimbabwe.
So it's very small. It's growing. But so it was my first year of senior school. The first team rugby coach from the school was one of the owners of the gym. So the gym was literally across the road. So you just walk across the road and the gym was there. And that was him and the first team rugby coach, so Scotty Gray, him and another guy, Maka, were partners and they owned the gym. And Scotty Gray actually played professional rugby for Scotland, and he was coaching in Zim. And he wanted to bring across what they had called at the time strength and conditioning, which it basically is. He wanted to bring it a part of the school. So through his connections at the school, he bought it as a club that we did. So you signed up for it when you signed up for your sports and that at the beginning of the year. So when they had announced it and I heard what it was, I was pretty interested I didn't know what it properly was.
So they included it in your curriculum?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. All right.
So we had like every term you had to sign up for a certain amount of clubs. So your clubs would be like chess, music. French club, music, like all that stuff. And then sports, there were major and minor sports. It was like a whole formula that they had. But they had bought it apart as a club. So when your school time finished, you went across the road for your club of that. And then when that finished, you could go to your sports or whatever. So I decided to sign up for that and try it. And then literally from then, it just grew. When I did it for the first time, I loved it. And my interest grew the more.
So you were, 14?
No, I was 12.
Oh.
I was turning. So about this time. Coming
so
up
8 years?
Yes, 8 years now. This is my 8th year. Yeah.
8th year?
Yeah. So I was 12, turning 13 when I first started it.
Oh, wow. All right. Yeah. And how did they how did it look? Because I guess, or I hope, the class for 12-year-old kids is going to be different than...
So Scotty Gray, he did his, and Maka, if I'm not mistaken, both had done their CrossFit Kids course. And so they had known and they were qualified in that. And it was very different. Like we did more, like I spent a lot of time on our silver technique bars and PVC pipes. And so we never really loaded our bodies with any weight other than our own weight. So it was very safe. The only unsafe thing was 12-year-old boys running around, 13-year-old boys running around the gym.
But that's not only in the gym.
Yeah, that's everywhere. But it was very safe, and they were both Maka and Scotty were are and still are very big onto technique and that first. So they were good with that.
Okay. And then at what point they started to actually load you?
I probably...
Like introducing more weights, kettlebells?
I'm very blurry on that, but I started going towards the like adult classes. So I was a part of the gym, like with my peers, and we're doing it in the afternoon together. Then I just used to get irritated because I started wanting to take it seriously and like really have fun in that with it, but they would just take it as to mess around, and because it was time, you got an hour to mess around and you don't have to, it wasn't, so even like they would just mess around and we spent half the time getting punished, not exercising because we had to discipline the class. So then the holidays came and I wanted to carry on. So I carried on and they would let me, I'd come to the gym in like an open gym time, and they had known that I could move and I had a pretty good understanding, because this is now probably 4 months from when I'd started. So I came with and was training with the coaches, but still, they would still like scale it for me to what I could do. So
but still you were 13.
Yeah. So, but I knew I moved well. Like it naturally came to me, like it is natural, but as people start older, it's a lot harder too. And then from there, it just slowly, obviously I also haven't had an ego or have an ego and wanted to add weight in that. And so I'd add weight but they were still very good with, if I'd added weight, they knew I wasn't going to be safe, they would tell me to reduce it or bring it off. Yeah.
Proper coaching.
Yeah, they are they coach me very well. And a lot of how I move and my success so far in the sport or what I've done is a lot sent to them. So
have you done any sport before you did this?
So
like on a more serious?
Not really. I enjoyed rugby a lot. I played all sports because we had to. I enjoyed a lot of them, but rugby was my favorite, and it's something that I would have probably, if I hadn't found CrossFit, it would be something that I would have looked towards more. Maybe not professionally, but it was something that I enjoyed a lot more. Yeah.
Oh, you're built for rugby, right?
Yeah.
Maybe lower base.
Yeah. So
good,
played rugby for a bit, and then when I started to get more into CrossFit, because of our age at the school as well, certain age groups you had to do more than one sport. You couldn't just do one sport, and then, which in a way is good, but when I got old enough, so like 15, 16, I didn't want to just do. I wanted to do just CrossFit. I didn't want to do rugby and all these other sports. So at that time I was doing rugby and CrossFit. And then I left school early, like 2 years earlier. And I continued with CrossFit and coaching CrossFit.
Oh, you left the school?
Yeah. So we've got O levels and then AS levels and A levels. So it's, I think, IGCSEs and then AS level and then GCSE.
Okay, so now you're just naming some shortcuts. I have no idea.
I can't tell you what it stands for, but it's a British curriculum. Yeah, exams. So it's like if I wanted to get into university, you have to do, basically it's your last 3 years of school. So university require all the last 3 results, but they look at your O levels and your A levels. Okay. So your third last year and your last year of school. Mm-hmm. Now I didn't want to continue the last 2 because I knew that I didn't want to go to university. And so I was like, if I knew what I wanted to do, and that was pursue CrossFit in competing, I wasn't too keen on the coaching side of things, and I'd never considered it. And I hadn't talked my mom and dad into me being able to do that yet, because they wanted me to have a qualification, something to fall back on, so that if whatever went wrong, I had something that I could go and I could get a job to be able to work and live, which I understood. So the rule was I decided on what I wanted to do, which was mechanical engineering, because as a hobby, I used to like to work with my dad in the workshop on like cars and like.
Oh yeah, you told me the other day, just randomly that motorbike, I can fix a motorbike. I was like, what?
Okay. So like I love cars and that. More so working on cars, and then stuff like steel fabrication and that. So I'll go into that now as well. But so the deal was, so I chose that and I wanted to do that. So I was like, okay, cool. You can leave now, but you have to pass. So there's 8 O levels or 9, depending on how smart you are, or how much you hate your life. So I had 8, and the deal was I had to pass at least 5.
But that was deal like with your parents?
With my mom and dad, Okay. Then I could leave. With the school, generally if you failed, you probably could leave, but you don't really want to. You want to come back to be able to rewrite so that you got a result, because you're not going to want to hire me if I'm...
Because you have basically
not
nothing.
Yes.
No formal qualification.
Yeah. It's basically like your first qualification ever as a adult or a person, I guess. So
as a person. That sounds good.
So I studied and worked that whole year everything was rolled around that and training. I passed all of them. They weren't all like flying colors, but they passed, and a pass is a pass. So
pass is pass.
Exactly.
And why didn't you consider university? Like, for example, sports science or something, like in this?
Because of the way the world is going as well, you don't really have to do that stuff. There's a lot of other ways of getting around it. And I looked at it like, okay, if I finish my 2 years and then I go to university and I study something, generally it's 4 or 5 years of studying. So call it 4 years. Then you finish and you leave and now you start. That's 6 years you've gone through. Whereas I could leave now, go and do a same qualification, maybe not spend as much time on it, but money on it, exactly. But I could then get my qualification and start working and start gaining experience. And then by the time my friends who are all at university now are finished university, I've got 6 years of experience on them, which in my eyes is more valuable than their qualification. Because a lot of the stuff that they get taught, I can experience, because also life isn't exactly what you get taught. You get taught something and then you experience everything else and change what you've along. So it was basically, I thought I could get ahead, and I never really liked school either. So I was like, if I've got the opportunity to, and I want to work and I want to do this, then I get a chance.
I absolutely get what you're saying, especially with some schools. Many times, especially like the technical ones, right? Like the progress in the field is so fast that so much stuff that is taught on university courses is outdated.
And that a lot of
especially
them
in Europe and Middle Eastern Europe, like the schools were from my environment, Middle Europe, like you literally get taught by people who are not in a field necessarily active. They are just academics in a field, which means that they are still laying back on the curriculums and also study materials, books that are 10, 20, 30 years outdated, which, for example, in nutrition, and that's not even too technical,
and has changed a lot.
You have so much new stuff and studies coming, but they
just one direction.
They just teach it that one way, pretty close-minded. So I get it. I just admire and
I've got nothing against that. Like, I can understand if you want to teach one thing, but you also have to you can't have the closed-mindedness. You can't be like, this is the only way.
Yeah, that's where my clashes on my university.
That's where like I've got my issues with school and all of that. But
I would say like I really admire your maturity in realizing all this when you are 16 or 17.
So that's, I think, has come from one, my dad never spoke to me like a baby. So and not in the sense of like, tone, but also with whatever happened in life throughout our family, work, all of that, he never hid it from me, and neither did my mom. It was, this is what's happening. whatever it was, whether it's we don't have money or stuff is happening. That's what it is. That's life. Like, unfortunately, it happens. You got to deal with it and move on, and hopefully, and make sure that doesn't happen again. So me spending all my time with my dad in the workshop, and learning how to work and deal with people, and go buy steel, buy this, sell that, earn money. It's like 1 + 1 = 2. And then also going into the gym from like starting adult classes from 13, 14 years old, you're around adults the whole time.
Yeah, so you had many role models.
I had a lot of people that were way older than me, which I much preferred, because people my age are just like, if anyone my age is going to go watch this, or any of my friends, like it's immaturity. And I'm like, it's such a waste.
Well,
I think.
I know you are young, or like younger than me, but I would never say you are as young as you are. You know, like anytime from the first time when we met and I was talking with you, like I was literally shocked when I learned how young you are, you know, because really it's just as you're saying, like, you're not dealing with that immaturity. And look at like social media, what people in their 20s are doing right now. Yeah. And especially like not even 20s, but 18, 19, 20, which are the years that you are already extremely dedicated, extremely focused. You are self-disciplined because you don't have to do all this, right? You do it because you want to. So there's nobody forcing you to wake up in the morning and be responsible and be responsible with your nutrition.
Well, there is now. I have got a job. But I know what you mean.
But it's different, right? Yeah. Some people your age wouldn't even keep such a job because of the irresponsibility, and also much older people as well. But that's
I just think like a lot of people, especially, and I heard it always when I was growing up, is like, because, and it was from adults that hadn't grown up themselves yet, and they were like, make sure you like don't grow up too fast. And I'm like, no, just going out and drinking and partying and being immature and being stupid and not taking anything actually seriously, and is not being a child. It's being a baby. It's not actually like you're not as a teenager. You're supposed to, and that's what school is meant to be for, is you're supposed to find what you want to do, or what you would not even do for the rest of your life, but do what you want to start with, what you love, what you hate, like, and get rid of what you hate and keep what you love, instead of wasting it. And then say now you 21, 20, say even 24 when you finish university, and you've wasted, because even at university, it's just going there to drink and party. A lot of people aren't even...
Many people do that, yeah.
Or you going there and studying just because your parents want you to study that, and then you leave and you just do all of that again. So people are like, don't grow up too fast. And I was like, no, I really enjoy what I'm doing. I enjoy this, so I'm not going to regret it. Like, you're the one that regrets.
Exactly. And just yesterday, I posted it. My brother sent it to me, and I posted it also on the Insta story. Just this quote, which I hope I will.
I think it was it wasn't just one. It was several lines.
Yes. Yeah.
I think I saw it this morning.
So, and the main quote was that there is a difference between enjoying life and ruining your future.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And that's basically it.
Yeah, that's exactly that's exactly just hit it. And I also see it on many people, whether it's people I get in touch through the gym or through online coaching, whatever it is. Many people have this, but I got to enjoy life. Yeah. But then what is enjoying life if you are ashamed of your body to even go to the beach? Yeah. That's why I wrote there, I'm not ashamed to go shirtless anywhere. Yeah. And I'm not saying that should be standard for everybody. But if you say like, I got to enjoy my life, and you have the food that you know is not good for you, and at the same time you're complaining about your body.
And that's the thing, is it's people complaining, and they're complaining about stuff that is self-inflicted. Yeah. So it's like, well, I don't really have a lot of time for that. I don't have patience for that, because you are being naive to what you're actually doing to yourself. Like, it can be completely changed.
It's only in your hands.
Yeah.
Like there's literally nobody going to come and pull you out of that until you do it.
And it's only that, because there are people that are like, you don't have to have a six-pack to be happy with your body. Like you can be,
for sure,
you can be healthy without a six-pack, and you can be happy.
And you can be unhealthy with a six-pack.
Exactly. Yeah. Like what I do is not healthy. And not even what I do. I'm not even at the level that a lot of people are at. Like it's not something that you want to push across and advertise. Like it's something that you see and you watch, but you have to know that what we eat, a lot of what we eat, and the amount of time we spend into it isn't healthy, because it's an addiction in a way.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. Yeah, because very good point, right? I had one client of mine asking like, okay, so if there is now, very simplifying it, talking about dopamine responses and how basically the dopamine loop of I get something, whatever it is, something that helps me to release dopamine, right? Whether it's training or coffee, chocolate, drugs, anything. If you have certain stimulus like that is releasing dopamine, you are very much likely to develop an addiction on it. So like, how do you break it? Well, the thing is that you usually cannot really break that addiction. You can swap the object of addiction. That's why you have so many stories. And I know if you remember the maybe 5, 7, 10 years ago when the CrossFit.com was releasing videos and stories of people and articles, and there was like, oh, this drug addict got into CrossFit and now he's going to regionals. Like, because he's addicted on CrossFit now.
Like Matt Fraser is an addict. Like he's an alcoholic from when he's got a podcast out on it, and when he was 17, I think, he was before he found CrossFit, and he was an Olympic weightlifter. And he had obviously he was dealing with going to the Olympic weightlifting center and all that stuff. And whatever happened, he ended up being an alcoholic at 17, 18. Yeah. I can find after this, I can send it to you on the podcast.
Tell me more.
Yeah. I don't want to butcher it, but it's basically that. And he went and found rehab with one of the guys at his training center, an older guy. And then he went through rehab and all that stuff. And a big part of his driving force is because he's an addict, but also the things that he went through with all of that, with his friend being an alcoholic, him being an alcoholic, going through that type of stuff. But my point with it was, it's that addictive. He got changed from. He's got that addictive personality as well, where you very. I also seen a couple of days ago this little video about how professional athletes, and especially people who are around them, you can see it on the documentary about Michael Jordan. Can't remember the name of it. The Last Dance or something on Netflix. The series. I think it's like The Last Dance or something. So like they are fairly rich, if we don't say extremely rich. At the time as well.
And they do supposedly what they love, and many people envy that, right? And when they were looking into it from the psychology perspective, then some people actually came with an explanation that they're not really happy because they don't have anything extra what we don't. They actually lack an off switch. They lack a button to say like, this is too much, this is enough, and I'm switching off. And I believe you have that too.
Or probably do. And again, that'll go into when we progress more into my life is... they don't have that. You've spoken about it before. Danny speaks about it, is you closing off your stress, like having an outlet of something that's very different from what you do. Because if you're in that situation the whole time, it doesn't, or in that, what would you call it? Not area, but like that's stimulus the whole time. It's not good eventually, and it ends up with stress, depression, all that bad stuff.
Well, you know the saying, the jack of all trades, master of none. supposedly the whole saying is jack of all trades, master of none, still better than just master of one. Yeah. And that is going into, yes, of course, if you dedicate 100% of all your energy into one thing, you'll probably excel in it. Yeah. But you're not putting energy anywhere else. Yeah. So, and therefore there are consequences. And if somebody will choose it, like, feel free. Yeah. That's your decision. Yeah. However, there are consequences. Yeah.
And that's everybody to themselves. Like, whatever your choice is for you in your life, as long as you're not harming anyone else.
So what then was the journey when you started to take it like more professionally? Like, how do you come to your first competition?
Okay. So my last year of school, which was 2018, I then left. So that's when I'd left, and I'd actually left before I got my exam results. So I hadn't known if I'd passed or failed yet.
So much for the deal with parents.
Well, I mean, it would have been going back the next week and catching up on a week's worth of work. Because the teachers at the school didn't want me to leave. So they gave me a form to fill out for my subjects for the next year. And I told him, I was like, I filled out the form, but I was like, I'm not coming back. I was like, my mind's made up. I made my mind up 5-6 years ago. It wasn't just now. So then I signed up for a competition that year, so 2018, for the European Championships in the UK. And I qualified for that. So that was the beginning of 2019. So I'd left school.
Like straight away?
Yeah.
This was your first
yeah.
Well, that's a big competition to start.
Like I've done the Open. So there's the Opens that I've done every year. And every year that I did what was for the age group, so 14 to 15, 16 to 17, I qualified for the online qualifier. But the next step was the games at that time. And I wasn't ever ready or good enough for that yet. So I got for the online qualifiers, but that was the biggest before that. So I signed up, got the European champs, but for the teenage division. So I was 15 at the time. I was 16 when I went for it. So the first week of February, or like the last week of January in 2019, me and my coach, Maka, flew to the UK and did that competition. And that was like the start of me wanting to...
Yeah, like this is a pretty big jump, right? Regardless, of course, you had the online qualifiers and all that, but that's happening in your gym. That's completely different environment. There is a pressure, but it's different because you're still doing it in your gym.
You're safe.
You have just the camera there, and you can theoretically repeat it. It's not just one time and done. Even though they try to make it very hard for the repeat.
Like stuff like quarterfinals, you can't repeat, but those ones at that time, especially, you could. My body was not at the, like, my capabilities were not ready to redo anything. But I do get what you mean.
But this is the thing, and then you go to, because that's a pretty big comp to start with. It's not just like some local throwdown here at the backyard.
It was the top 15 boys. Okay, out of obviously the people that signed up, but in the European, the qualifiers and that. So I think I qualified. I was 9th. And then we did our first workout actually in our own gyms. And that was basically like a conditioning piece, which at the time, like my conditioning has come up, which we can speak about as well. I hated machines. And it was 1,500 meter row, 1,500 meter ski, 1,500 meter assault bike, 1,000 meters of everything, 500 meters of everything. And that was basically to seed us for when we get there. So I did that 5 times because we messed up the videos and everything, and like
5 times.
5 times. I hated it.
So much for redoing. What was the time frame you have to do it at?
I can't remember. I could probably find it on their thing, but I can't remember what the time cap was.
No. I mean, in what time frame you did these 5 attempts?
We had it a week, so I'd basically done it. It was 4 times in the week, because I did it on the first day that it, like the day it came out. The night it came out, we did it the next day just to like test it, see how we feel. So it wasn't like a full effort. And I can't remember all the reasons that the GoPro wasn't working, but one, like my coach didn't turn it up, like click record. Second, the battery died halfway through. Third one, like it just didn't submit. And like, there were so many different reasons, but,
did you get better?
I can't remember. Like that's so.
If you think that this was worth it for the result,
I guess it didn't matter much because it just seeded us for our like placings. It didn't make it. The points didn't count.
So. Okay, so it wasn't like you can be out of competition for that.
Yeah. So it was already like we had all qualified. It was just the first workout to make sure, okay, you're in lane 1, lane 2, lane 3. It's a horrible way of doing that. Just do it alphabetically or something. Because then at least I'm in the middle lane. And then we flew there, trained for about a week or so, which was amazing because we were going from, I don't know what Zim is, I think we're like 4,000 feet above sea level to going to sea level. Which was amazing. Like it was like,
like, you have elevation. I could open
my
there.
chest. Like I felt really, really fit. And I can't remember. It was one day, and it was there were 6 events, and there were 2 cuts. So everybody did 4, and then you got seeded. Like then it was the top 10. So if you're outside of the top 10, or less than that, there was 1 cut. Sorry, so it was that, and then it was the top 5. It went from 15 to 5, and the last 5 did the last workout. So there were 6 workouts. We did 5, and then they did the 6th one, I think, something like that. It was, I can't remember all the details.
That's fine. Yeah. And what was your placement there?
So I went into it 9th, and I think I finished 10th. Yeah, okay. So I qualified.
But the 9th that was based
from
on the
row
cardio stuff.
Yeah. So I finished 10th after the weekend.
So basically top 10 in Europe for the age category.
Yeah. So I was very happy with it.
First competition ever.
Yes.
Basically.
Yeah. There was highs and lows. There was events that I came bottom in, and there were events that I think my best one was I came second, which I was like, so it was very cool. Very, very cool experience because you get put up in like your corrals, you get lined up, we had our whole warm up area. There were lots of people as well, so it was very, very cool.
Do you consider yourself more strength or conditioning based athlete? Strength,
yeah,
and more like gymnastic strength, or barbell strength.
Okay, so relative to my weight, that barbell. But if you weren't, then probably I learned this last 2 weeks ago. Gymnastics.
Yeah. Okay. So you found out that your strength is gymnastics. You didn't even know about it.
No, so I knew my strength was gymnastics, but like I knew I was strong, and I am strong, but I'm not that strong. Like if we were doing a weightlifting competition, it would be very different. That's perfect, but we're not doing a weightlifting competition. Yeah. So,
What is your body weight?
77 kgs.
77. Yeah. And height?
I think 164.
164, 77.
I don't know what that is. And I'm very short, basically.
Yeah, but still also weight-wise, you're on a smaller side of the usual CrossFit field.
So and that's what I learned, and that was one thing that I will try and change for the next 2 years. Like standing next to a lot of those guys. The one guy, Sir Keelan, who went to the games last year, he is my size, so my height, but I think, I don't know what his body weight is, but he's like 85 kilos, somewhere there. So he's just like a block. And that's where, like, that's also mainly like the CrossFit weight is that, like, that's like the sweet spot.
Yeah.
So that's my goal, is to try and get there, and put on a bit of size and weight.
That's a big goal.
It is a big goal.
Yeah.
But you can't.
But you have, you're 20. So
and that's the thing. That's like, I've got time to do it. It's not about now. Sure. Like, obviously, I don't. That's something that I also learned this last week.
There are other ways to do it fast, but
but I don't want to do it. I would love to do it those ways. Like, no, in food ways, not the other ways.
No, I meant needle ways.
No, I don't know. Okay. So to correct that, I would not love to do that. I don't like that. I meant good food, bad food. Fast food.
But I mean, it's...
I have a pet peeve that pisses me off. Like, I'm sorry, but that, I hate that.
Yeah.
And I think we need to, like, CrossFit needs to grow more and get more money in so that we can expose a lot more people.
Yeah. What do you... This is safe space. You can say whatever you want.
I don't like this.
Do you think it is realistic to be on the CrossFit Games without it?
Yes.
Do you... Okay, now, follow up. Do you think it's realistic to be top 5 on CrossFit Games without it? without doping.
Yes, like I do think it's possible. And I say that because I've obviously never got to that level, but I have seen and what I love about the sport and about anything is I think a lot of people underestimate what humans can do and what people can actually do. And especially with their mind, like their mindset can really set you up for success or failure. And hey, whenever my time is at the games or 10 years, I might find out otherwise. But I'm not naive to it, but I also like to look at it like I'd like to think that you can do it. And I would like to prove that you could do it. And going back to that soul mindset, like that's where I want to get to, where the only thing I focus on is that. And yes, there will be some consequences, but I believe that it could set the rest of my life up pretty well, because you don't have to do that forever. So my whole life doesn't have to be that.
It can't.
It's not possible.
Practically, it's not possible.
Unless you're Rich Froning.
But he retired eventually.
But I'm not naive. It is in the sport. But I do think those people that are at the top as well, that's their jobs. That's what they do all day, every day. They don't just focus on battering themselves in the gym. They focus on what they eat, their sleep, their recovery. And I've seen that at a bottom level. So like the semifinals, now I can see what they're doing and what they can do, and that their level is nowhere near what the top guys are doing.
Yeah. You know the expression, people don't realize how fit you have to be just to suck at CrossFit Games. Yeah.
And like, I learned that again this last weekend, is that, to be 40th place at the games, and I know people where they're like, I'm not going to take my invite because I don't want to be 40th at the games if I go. And I'm like, that is such a bad mindset to have, because you can't expect to walk in and come second or first or whatever, because to be that 40th person that's really good.
I texted you right before you went there, right? Because I didn't know when the official results of qualifying for the semifinals were. You told me, we met a couple of days, and you were like, I missed it by 2 spots. I was like, well, you still have time. That's what I always tell you. You still have time next year. And then I learned that you're going from some Insta posts. And I was like, oh shit, cool. So I texted you. And I think I exactly said this, like, just enjoy it because you are living a dream of thousands of people. Just going there, and it's so many people would like to just have that experience. And so how was it? Did you enjoy it? And
I loved it.
Like just go chronologically how it went. How was it for you?
So like,
and I will just lay back and listen.
So like it was a roller coaster of emotions, which is the hardest part of the weekend. But it was, I went I was there for 10 days. So I went a week before, and my dad and his girlfriend had met me there, and they were there.
We're talking about going to South Africa, right?
Yeah.
To Cape Town.
Yes, Johannesburg.
Oh, Johannesburg.
Very different places now.
Okay.
No, like in the sense of, I'll explain that in a bit now.
Okay.
So I met them there, and we stayed for, like, I was there for a week before the competition just to try and get used to the altitude, which I did and I didn't. So I trained a bit with one of my friends, Christina, who qualified as well, and she lives in Australia. So her and I were training to...
And she qualified for this one?
No, so she's from Zimbabwe, sorry. So she's Zimbabwean. Her and I worked together and trained together at the gym that I started at. She moved to Australia, I moved here. And so we trained for a bit. I was basically like on a holiday for the first week. It was quite nice just to relax, eat, go out, to enjoy, and just move. Then we had our briefing, which was also just that, like walking into the arena and seeing everything, and then being around those people, and like, because you've got people that work for CrossFit, like people that are a lot higher up than what we normally see, and just seeing the floor and the layout and the space, and that was very cool, and being around the athletes and meeting people. So we got briefed on the first 2 workouts, so for day 1. And then we got our like lane assignments and all that based off of quarterfinals finishings. Then just went home, ate, chilled. Dani had come, not that night, or the next morning she arrived. So I went to the gym and, I was at the house, still, because this is Friday morning. And my dad, and then went to pick her up. And then we went to the arena and basically just went downstairs, found a space in the warm-up area to chill and relax, and just suss everything out and get comfortable. And it was very cool. It was a very nice warm-up area with like space, because it was basically we were on a university, and it was the university's gym that we were in downstairs. So they had like moved everything, and we had bars and everything that we needed to warm up. And then there was like a recovery area, like a supplement company on the side as well, and that. And then it was teams, male. It was the teams, then the females, then the males that went. So for all 3 days. So watched like the teams and that go, and then started warming up and getting ready. Oh, and like, which was the best part of it, my old coach from back home, he does like professional long drive now, so not too much into CrossFit, like not really into CrossFit anymore, but he phoned me, and he's been like messaging and keeping a comms, seeing how everything's going and that, and he was like, I'm not able to come like the week before or 2 days before, because he's got a competition there the next weekend, so he doesn't really want to fly there, go back.
Okay.
So I was like, hey, cool, whatever. I mean, I'm happy to be on my own there. It's nice having people though. And then I was on the way to the thing. My dad and I, we were all on the way to the competition, and I got a message saying, "Where are you?" I looked at my phone and I was like, "What? Like, what do you mean, where are you?" I'm in South Africa. And I was like, and anyway, he had surprised me, and he was there, which was that was really cool. And it made it, like, in one of my posts that I put up, like, it really fueled the fire a lot more, because I was like, for whatever reason, like, I really look up to him. And
the circle was closed.
Yeah. So we went, and I started warming up ready for the first workout, which I was really excited about, because there was no workout that I wasn't excited about, because it was a 3,000 meter assault bike, then a sled pull, like a 25 or whatever meter sled pull at 100 kgs, 2K run, sled pull, 1K ski, sled pull. So it was a nice one to start, because
pull meaning
like
pulling by the rope.
By the rope, yeah. So and I was excited for that, because it was a nice one to start, to like get rid of all the like nerves and everything.
Not really technical, right?
So you don't have to
just
think about
capacity,
it, just move, and people can, like, it's not like there's not a lot riding on it. It's a nice one to just everyone get into it. Well, I was very excited for that, because I've done a lot in the last year, like last year's training. So last year's quarterfinals, I missed by 7 spots. So I changed a lot of training for this year, and a big part of it was conditioning, and I was doing a lot more conditioning pieces in that. So I was ready to test that. Like, I've done a lot of running, and you would not have been able to say that I'd done any of it. I got on the floor, the bike went amazingly. I was so happy. Like, I was one of the first people off the bike, like, not fast or anything. And I touched the sled, and it would not move.
That's why you chuckled on 100 kg, yeah?
Because 77 kgs trying to move 100 kgs isn't as good as 90 kgs moving 100 kgs.
Mass moves mass.
Yeah. And so, and like, the hard part, and why a lot of people don't like competing, is because your weaknesses get exposed in front of everybody. So I couldn't have known that until I'd done it. So tried to move, like, so I did 3,000 meters on the bike. It took me longer to pull the sled 25 meters than it did for me to do 3,000 meters on the assault bike.
But this is also tricky, training for the sled.
Yeah.
And with the sled, whatever it is, pushing, dragging, or rope pull, or whatever you can figure out. Because any form of sled, because every sled is different and every surface is different. And it's like, you practically cannot mimic that workout anywhere else. So you would need that sled on that flooring, right?
This is what CrossFit did pretty well as well. Like when I say well, like a lot of people don't like the fact because there's so many variables that go into it for a sled, especially on the day that your lane could be better than mine, there's so many different things. But CrossFit had given us basically like what's on the box, that like rubber, that was the sled. And it was pinched between 100 kgs and the floor. So it literally just bit down the whole, what felt like that for my lane. And also a lot had to do with your height in that event. The higher you could get that rope to be able to pull it, the better it was, rather than staying low.
Because of the angle?
Because of the angle in that, which I'm not going to miraculously grow another 3 feet to be able to be 6 foot to pull it. And that's fine. Like I sat there and I tried to figure it out. And only when it came, like there were 3 sections. As it came to the last section, I'm not even joking. I've got videos of it. It moved for the first 2 sections. It only moved like a centimeter each time. And every centimeter took everything out of me. It wasn't like it was just a half-assed pull. It was 100% effort into every single pull.
Do you remember in CrossFit Games when I don't know what the burden run? I think it was called burden run. And they were doing the pig flips.
Pig flips,
Garrett Fisher came there, and in the documentary he is saying I tried to pick it up first time, it barely moved, and then it was 1 rep max deadlift and flip
over and over again. And that was basically it. It was like I am pulling, because 100 kgs is a lot, but it's only a lot for whatever movement, for different movements. And to pull that it was very, very heavy, and it didn't move. And the last section got better because I could like lift it and pull. Whereas because I'm so short, like if you watch, as soon as I pull it, it just shrinks me. Like it like folded me in half every time. So then everyone was like, and the trick was you do like a hip thrust. So you fold down, you stand up, you pop your hips and you pull. It wasn't doing that for me.
Do you think that if you would have right now a chance to redo that workout, that you would know better?
No,
that you learned?
It wouldn't have done anything. I think it was physical ability.
Okay.
Not because
it wasn't the technicality of it.
So then I finished that first sled and I got onto the runner. And I'd actually be very interested to see this because I think I might have got the worst, it's just funny for me to see. I think I got the worst time in the world out of everyone that did that workout.
Coming to the runner?
So I got onto the runner. It took me 14 minutes to run 2Ks. I felt so sick. The sled had absolutely ruined my abs. My back was just cramping. Like I was walking, I was like leaning on. My dad and them spoke to me after. They were like, every time I leant over, they thought I was going to be sick on their end because I just couldn't breathe either because we were going from sea level here to 4,000 feet above sea level there. So I just felt like my breath was the same, but my body realized there's not enough oxygen going into your body. And then you start to panic and like you try to get deeper breaths, and so it takes time.
Also midsection down, diaphragm locked.
Yeah, and people don't realize how much midsection is into running. So I got off the runner and I got back to the second sled, like the second round of sled pulls, and again just struggled with it. Then towards like the last bit, I figured out that, and this won't change anything if I had done it again. If I thought keep tension on the rope the whole time will be good to try and keep it pulling, because general sleds, you keep the tension, it keeps moving. If I relaxed the rope, like whipped it and pulled as soon as the whip was going to finish, it pulled it a little bit more.
That's very hard to repeat.
I'm not going to repeat that. Like it's only moving at another extra centimeter. So whereas when I'm not even joking, people would like have like the sled would move their arm length. So they'd like pull and the sled would move. They pull, the sled would move, and I'm like, I don't know what. I can't do that.
Why I have doubled the weight of the sled?
So if I was, and that's like it's okay because that's some things is if I was to redo it, I wouldn't change anything because I can't change anything because It was my physical, my weight and my strength.
So there is basically nothing you could regret that I should have done this. Because there's nothing.
The whole weekend, I didn't regret a thing. So then that was the first workout. Then the second one I was really excited for.
And how did it finish? Like, were you time capped or you finished?
I was time capped. Yeah. I finished the run. I did one length of the sled there were 3 lengths that you had to do each time. I did 1 length. I still had another 2 lengths to do, a 1K ski, and another 3 lengths of a sled pull to do. So I got time capped. Okay. And by a bit. So then we finished, we went and I ate and that and relaxed and just, I gave myself some time to get my frustrations out and then was focused on the next one.
Were you angry or just more like disappointed?
Just upset because it's also very hard being on that air runner and the runners were set up in front of everybody. So I was running and the whole time, just bad thoughts when you're in pain. Yeah. That's the first thing that comes to your mind was
coming last to the runner as well.
This is, and I was getting to the runner as a lot of people were getting off. So it's like, this isn't showing, like this run isn't showing that I've actually been running. And it was the thought of I'm coming last already. So why finish it? Just like, you may as well just,
why go through that?
Like just
exhaustion
But a lot of things that I tell people, like clients and that as well, and members is, it doesn't matter what position you come in. It's the effort that you put in towards it. So I can look back happily at that. If I had stopped on that runner or stopped and like slowed down or whatever, I would have been very upset and disappointed because like I didn't actually try.
You know that old, I believe this is some Japanese saying, probably, or some Eastern, the warriors are not the one who always win. The warriors are the ones who always fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a bit like, because I can't also expect to go and win every single event and go and do the best at every, like I can try the best.
And it was first time on that kind of level. So
so the next one you could say was in my wheelhouse, like the 3, it was ring muscle ups, pistol squats and burpee box jump overs, which you say.
Yeah, there was this complex with the weight vest.
So you had a 20 pound for the gents and 10 pounds for the lady ruck on your back.
Oh, was it ruck?
Ruck back. Right. So Go Ruck, that sponsored the games. They sponsored all of them. Yeah. And the coolest part is we got to keep them. So that was like the best part of the whole event. So I had that and it was like 3-minute intervals, 1 minute rest, 3-minute intervals. And I'm happy with how I did. I'd like to, and I probably will try it again here and set it up similarly and see how I do. Because I struggled a lot with altitude. And I don't blame it. I'm not like, I should have adapted to that. Like I should have been there a bit longer or done whatever. But we did that. So it was like 1 toaster ring, 1 ring muscle up, 1 ring dip. And it was 5 of those. So that event went better for me. I completed the rings, did pistol squats. I think I came 12th or 13th out of everyone for that workout.
How many people are competing?
30.
30.
Yeah.
Don't you? When I was reading this workout, I was like, "This is nuts! Like this is fucking crazy."
Yeah.
And then I read that there is a weight vest.
Yeah.
So don't you think, in your personal opinion, it was a little bit of overkill? Also doing the weight vest and.
Like everybody, I like it when it falls into my favor. So I like the harder it can be and it works for me. I'm like, cool, because a lot of people also aren't very high skilled. So that's a tick in my box. And then also a lot of people aren't high skilled when there's extra weight added. So that's another tick. So I do think that it would have been just as a good test, if not better, if there was no weighted back, because people would have still pushed. It would have been much worse for me because I would have had to go a lot faster. And I would have struggled a lot with the breathing.
So in your opinion, it wasn't overkill, but it's good for you.
But I think it would have been just as a good enough test without the vest, like with the complex, because you look at a lot of people across all the regions, how many of them actually completed a set of rings? Like there was a guy next to me in the lane next to me, he didn't get any. He just did toaster rings and failed the muscle up.
Oh, wow.
And
you had to do that unbroken, right?
No, it didn't have to be unbroken. You could do a toaster rings, come down.
Okay, at least.
But you don't want to break after a muscle up because you have to do another muscle up to get to the dip.
But come on, doing toes to ring and muscle up and a ring dip 5 times in a row in a weight vest, like
that's a
just doing 5 muscle ups with a vest.
And it's not even a vest, it's the bag, which is even worse.
Bag, sorry, yeah.
The center of gravity is the same with the vest, it's just your body weight's heavier. You're heavier and it pulls you back. So when you get to the muscle up, when you turn over, you have to turn over really quickly and wait so that the bag can hit you.
Wait forward.
And then go. Because a lot of people were getting there and trying to press up, and as they were pressing up, the bag hit and it would pull them back off.
So it's a completely different.
A very different thing.
Yeah. I didn't realize it was a rucksack. Yeah.
Yeah. So I practiced that one before, the week before, playing around with it, and we just put back, because we didn't have the rucks, so we got our gym bag, put plates in it, and I hated it. I didn't do any pistol squats. I didn't do any burpee box jump overs, because I kept on failing the rings, and I was like, I'm getting absolutely fuming. So I'll just leave this, breathe, keep my confidence, and I'll deal with it on the day. And luckily, it was a lot better, and I enjoyed that workout.
Do you think because the way you set it up with the rack was different?
Because instead of having we had a strap at the bottom here, whereas the bag, my strap didn't, it was broken, so we couldn't strap the bottom.
So you had it completely loose?
It was loose at the back, so we could tighten this one, but this one was loose, so flopped a lot more.
So you couldn't basically fix it anyhow on the hip,
and that was making it. We put a weight belt on, and then but it was still because the weights moved in the bag as well. Whereas with the Go Ruck, it's made for that, so it's very compact and it's just one plate. And then it had this.
Oh, there is plate in it. Yeah. Oh, I thought you had this sand sacks.
No. Yeah.
Okay, so it was a plate in it. Oh, right. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah. So that was very cool. I think it was a cool event.
Was it your favorite?
No.
Okay, so
it would have been, like I said, I loved all of them. I got asked before, which event are you least looking forward to? And I sounded arrogant. I was like, none of them. I look forward to all of them, because I get to each of these things is either my strength or something that I've been working on. So it gets to show me if I've doing the right thing or if I'm doing the wrong thing.
Literally a test.
Yeah, basically. So I loved that one. Then the competition was over. Well, for the first day. Then the second day.
And just skip. What about dinner? What did you eat? How did you deal with all that?
So and it's probably what I would do differently next year, is I stayed at the event the whole day, which sometimes, and I learned this before when I went to another competition in the beginning of the year, going away from the competition is good, because you can decompress, relax, then come back and redo it. It's a lot easier than being in that environment the whole time.
Is it because of the music, crowds?
And then you're dealing with emotions of, if you're watching somebody else, you're getting excited, then you're angry, then you're upset, and your hormones are going all over, and it's tiring. It's not easy. So we went, and I went with I had my grandpa came and watched, my mom came and watched. So Danny, my mom, my dad, his girlfriend, and my grandpa all went for dinner at one.
Nice crew.
Yeah.
Crew.
Yeah, basic again. Yeah. So we went to dinner at one of the restaurants there called Spur. It's basically like a steakhouse, and just had steak, chips, onion rings, and that. Had a big dinner, and then went home, showered, and just relaxed. Basically, just forgot about the competition, because at that point as well, there's not a lot that you really the stuff that's happened has happened. You can't really do anything about it. And the stuff that's going to happen is going to happen. So you can't really focus on the next day either.
You probably know Jocko Willing,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
So he's his expression.
Of the games, actually, this year.
Sorry?
He's sponsoring the games this year as well.
Oh, with the clothing?
The fuel. I think, I can't remember what his brand is, the fuel.
Jocko Fuel, probably.
Yes, that's Jocko Fuel. Yeah, that's what it's called.
It's pretty simple. Yeah. Okay, because I know he has some I think clothing and hunting gear or something, that brand as well. Okay, so what I wanted to say, his expression, the count is 0?
Mm-hmm. I don't think so, no.
Okay, so it's basically every day you wake up, the count is 0. Yesterday workout doesn't count. Yesterday's nutrition doesn't count. What counts is what you do today. What you're going to do today with what you got, right? the potential you got. So looking at it from training perspective, but also
everything, like it applies to everything.
Exactly what you're saying. Like that day was already done.
Take it as like stress and stress and overthinking. Stress is you're worried about the past. Overthinking is you're worried about the future, and they're not good hormones. They're not good things to be worrying about. And it's easier said than done, but it's something to learn, is to try and not, and I'm still learning it, to not focus about the past and not worry about the future. And it was basically that for the weekend.
This is brilliant how it connects from day-to-day life, because Jocko's advice is not for an elite CrossFit competitors. It's for daily life. Like, you work out yesterday, cool, good for you. Forget about it. Yeah. It's today, you know. And today the count is 0. Yeah. You're starting from the scratch.
Josh Bridges?
Of course, yeah.
His saying is called pay the man. Pay the man. Yeah. So every day you've got rent that's due. You have to pay.
Success is a rent, and success is rented, and the payment is due every day. Yeah. Exactly.
Then woke up in the morning, had just my same overnight oats, because also we were dealing with power cuts, so I couldn't really have food that I could cook.
That's normal, yeah?
Yeah, load shedding. Okay. I can go into that as well. So I had my normal breakfast and then just made our way to the competition for the second day. So my mom arrived that day as well, that morning. So they went and picked her up. And I did the first event, which was Linda, which I was... So
10 to 1, bench press.
Deadlift, bench press, squat clean.
Deadlift, bench press, squat.
But it was a dumbbell bench press. So I had done... weeks leading up to it, I was simulating and that.
It wasn't really lightweight, right, for the dumbbells?
No, so I'll get to that now. So I did Linda 2 weeks before, just testing it, thinking that that's a test that'll come up. And I did it at those weights, because that was the weights that they'd done in 2018 or 2017 when they'd done it at the regionals.
On the regionals, yeah.
But I'd done it with a barbell. And I didn't finish. So I was like, okay, I probably won't finish. That's fine. I'll still try, but I know roughly where I'm at. So I got to like the round of 4 when I tested it. We had the same weight, but with dumbbells. So it was 90-pound dumbbells, so 40 kg dumbbells in each hand.
That's painful.
So the deadlift was 295. I don't know what that is in kgs.
295.
It's like 120.
135.
Yeah, 130 something.
135, yeah.
No, it's 135. Yeah.
Between 135 140. Yeah.
Because 315 is 143. I think.
Yeah.
And then it was 90-pound dumbbells, and then 145, so 65 kgs on the squat clean.
67, 60. Yeah.
So the squat clean was nice. The deadlift was okay. Like for that volume for me is like a lot. The bench press sucked. It was basically, and for a lot of people, just stuck on bench, because you can be strong at a bar, but that doesn't really, you have to, dumbbells and the bar are very different.
This one I was watching live when you were doing it.
Yeah, so you saw me lying on a bench for 17 minutes.
I've seen you struggling, but fighting.
Yeah, so like...
Yeah, like as many as you could.
I also tried not to go to failure, because you don't want to go to failure, because that failure is going to become less and less and less and less. So I broke it up from the beginning, and I broke up my set of 10 on the cleans on the first round. And then the second round came around. I was like, I took too long on the dumbbells. I was like, I have to make up time somewhere. So I would do touch and go squat cleans, like as many touch and go deadlifts as I could, and then come. But it kept on being like, squat clean, deadlift, back to the bench press. Squat clean, deadlift, back to the bench press. So was just sitting at the bench. So I think I finished 10, finished 9, finished 8, and I got 3 or 4 bench press on the 7.
What were the
standards?
Yeah, two questions. I have one standards.
So
for the bench press,
so you had the bench press. It started from the top down.
So you started from the top?
So if you go to here and try to press up, that doesn't count. That's one rep.
That's your...
But it doesn't count. That's
count is 0.
So I was always trying to get them straight up, which worked sometimes. And then the more fatigued my arms got, I just...
So like this stiff arm hammer.
My femur is very short, so it doesn't give me a lot of leverage up. But I was literally, I'd clean them up. So I'd stand up in front of the bench, hold them here, and I'd basically throw them and lie back on the bench to try and like catch them. So yeah, lock out, had to then touch your torso or shoulder, so anywhere on your body.
One head of the dumbbell.
One head of the dumbbell, and then lock out again. Your feet had to stay on the floor, shoulders and head had to stay on the floor. I want to double check.
On the bench.
Yeah, on the bench.
Yeah.
Feet on the floor. I can't remember the standard with the hips, but I think the hips could come up, but that was, I can't remember what that standard was, but it was shoulders, definitely head and feet.
I wanted to ask regarding this, what were the sets you were going for? Like, what did you like open with, let's say?
I think the 10, I think I broke it into 3 sets or 2 sets, which again was probably too big in hindsight, but I think I did 6 and 4.
Okay.
Or 4-4-3, no, 4-4-2 or 4-3-2.
But that's whatever. Basically sub-maximal sets,
exactly,
right?
Yeah. And then, that's what I was doing on the bench. Then the 9s was 3-3-3. I tried. But a lot of the time, I couldn't even do 3 reps. Like I got to the 8s and it was like 2, 1. So yeah, I can't remember. It was by the time, I can't even remember my game plan, because after the first set of 10, everything went out the window, and it was basically, I was like, I just need to survive and I need to do what I can. That plan is
everybody has a plan until they are kicked into the face.
Exactly. And
but
that's it.
That's how you adapt.
That was that was cool. Doing it again, I don't think I would have changed anything, and I don't think I would have done anything to get any better, because for me to have done better, I needed to be stronger at a bench press and dumbbell bench press.
Yeah, you're not going to gain that by strategy.
That's time.
So. And were there people who were like okay-ish, or everybody was struggling?
A lot of people were struggling. There was very different ends of it, and throughout the world, there were people that really struggled with it. Me. Then there were people that did okay with it, like they they got close to finishing but didn't finish. And then there were people that just smashed it. I remember watching the last heat of men, and Keelan, the guy I was talking about earlier, I remember watching him. He won the workout, and I think he finished, I don't know what he finished it, but it was fast. He was picking up the dumbbells and he was just doing unbroken sets, like just moving them like they were nothing. And I was like, how? It's like, it's just, I can't magically do that. I have to practice and get stronger.
But for everybody across the board,
it was hard. It was heavy.
If there was a challenge, it was the bench. Yeah,
nobody was really deadlift. That weight for people is too light. The squat clean again, that's like less than 50% for us. But the bench press was heavy.
There was a nasty twist with that weight. With the fact that they did dumbbells.
If it was a bar, it would have been very different, and a lot more people would have finished. But it's the stability of the dumbbells and the size of them. Like sitting here, the dumbbell is that big.
So basically across your whole torso.
Because they're heavier than me as well. Because
that's true.
Yeah, they're 80 kgs.
Oh, shit.
So, yeah.
Oh, wow. When you put it into this perspective,
because Linda is the actual like benchmark. Linda is deadlift 1.5 your body weight is the weight, body weight bench press, and then 3/4 your body weight squat clean.
Yeah.
Which again, in that sense, that bench press is still heavy. It's still not a light to bench press body weight for most people, but it's at least 3 kgs lighter than the dumbbells were.
Yeah, and at the games or at the regionals, the last time, I believe the weight was calculated on some kind of average. Yeah. They found out from the charts year before, right? Yeah. And they fixed the weights for everybody.
Those are the weights that I practiced with. Those are the weights that they did this weekend as well. Just the change was dumbbells, not barbell. Mm-hmm. The bastard. So finished that one. I was a bit upset with that because but again, I couldn't do much about it, so it took time to relax.
Did you start to feel fatigue at some point? Like, let's say from the muscle ups day before shoulders or something?
No, it was just, maybe it did play, I felt okay going into it. And like my triceps and that were a bit tender, but nothing that, it's just like if I hadn't done that the day before, I don't think I could have got much further than where I did to answer. Like,
wouldn't make a massive difference. Okay.
Maybe, again, when you're at the top level, your body is conditioned enough, or should be conditioned enough, that that's okay. Like if the competition program squats 2 days in a row.
12 hours of recovery, come on.
Exactly. So then I had food. I can't even remember what I ate. I think I didn't eat a lot throughout the days just because I was very anxious, very like competition, just getting used to it and that. So then had some food and
next workout.
Yeah, next workout. So that was 2 workouts. 1 workout, but 2 scored events. So it was 800 meter run, sprint, 1 rep max snatch in the time remaining. And the time remaining was 6 minutes. So it was a 6-minute workout.
So 6-minute time window.
Yeah.
You need to run 800
meters and then 1 rep max snatch in the time
How
remaining.
many attempts?
As many as you want.
As many as you make.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
But it's like for normal people, like 800 in 6 minutes.
Go look at Brent Fikowski's time for the second 800. So the next workout was rest 2 minutes, another 6-minute window, 8 snatches at 185, 800 meter sprint. And you had a 6-minute time cap.
But that was for time.
Yes. Yeah. So that one was for time. The tie break was your snatch. The first one was for weight. Your tie break was your time.
Time on the run.
Yeah. Time on that last workout. Yeah.
Yeah. And, okay. And the weight you said 185?
Yes.
6 snatches?
8.
8 snatches. Well, that's not easy. Yeah. How that went?
That was fine. So by that time, I was like, I have to, because there's not a lot of break. There's no exercise to break the field. It's just go. And whoever's faster is faster. So it's like, I got to go touch and go. Just got to try.
No, I mean, let's do the whole workout. Let's do the whole workout.
So the first run was great. I was like, yes, this is actually showing that I have worked on my running, and I wasn't fast. I think.
Pat on the shoulder?
Yeah. I think I was like 3.5 minutes, right? 800 meter run, maybe a little bit slower than that. I was way sub 4. So I had like 2.5 minutes, I think. Went, now it's strategy as well on what weight you want to hit in that. So I went at 95 kgs because everything was in kgs there. So I went
You opened with 95 kgs?
Yeah, because that I know...
Shit, you're way stronger than I thought.
So like, I know I can snatch 100, but I was like, after the run, I'm not sure. So I'll just go 95 and then I'll play it from there.
What is your like all-time best?
110.
110?
Yeah.
Okay.
So 245.
For 77 kilos?
Yeah,
Oh my God.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm strong in that sense, but imagine if I was 85 kgs.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
So then
coming soon.
Yeah. To be continued.
Yeah.
So then I went 95, got that, was happy, went and put 100, and then I got 100 and I was happy with that. And I was like, okay, I want to go 110 because I was like, this, I can do that 10 jump wasn't going to be a lot. And then there wasn't enough time. There was like 20 seconds left, 30 seconds left, whatever it was, to change the weight. So I was like, no, I have to take the weight off to add plates on to make it 110. So, because I didn't have enough plates to just add on. So I said to the guy, just go 105. And in hindsight, I should have done like 107, but I've never played with that. So again, you learn. So I went 105 and I put on the 2.5s. I keep hitting that. Put the 2.5s on. And the biggest mistake a lot of people make, and that I make, is they rush out the bottom of the snatch. They don't trust the ability of overhead squat to be able to sit, hold, and then stand. Because the rule was, the clock beeps. If the bar is up, you can continue the lift. So I had 3 seconds and I grabbed the bar and I pulled and hit it and it wobbled a bit and I held and then I stood up and I was like, I don't know where I came in that event or whatever, but for me, like I'll tell you, people were snatching 122, 127, like the kgs. I was so happy with that event. And that was probably one of my favorite events of the weekend, because of how it got executed and how I felt. It felt good, and I just...
And in the insane time pressure, you did the right thing.
And I listened and I slowed down and I waited, because a lot of people, when it's time, they're like rushing. It's like, no, just breathe. It's fine. So, I mean, I was so happy. Like, I'm still waiting to get the video of the snatch, because like I slammed the bar, like jumped. Like, I never really get excited like that, but I was very, very happy.
But, well, congrats to that.
Thank you.
Amazing. Also the fact that you, like the way you have to think in that moment, deciding what weight, do I have enough time? and you could be just like, oh shit, what? You know?
You could also leave it and you'd be like, oh,
yeah,
I got 100.
yeah, like that's not going to make a massive difference.
A lot of people got 107 kg snatches, so like 3 people, 4 people I could have beaten if I got 108. So it's those each kg matters. When you work in pounds, each pound matters even more.
Hey, I can tell you one mind blow that happened over this in my head when I was looking at the top I think it was North America region.
Their weights are stupid.
Yeah. And I was like, I had to actually do every weight. I had to go from kg to pounds just so I understand what it is. However, I remember that 3-4 years ago, I think you'll be able to tell me better, when Jared Fisher won the snatch on the CrossFit Games. He won like with 305.
Yeah, it was like 305.
I think he was the only one or one of few.
I think Matt Fraser got like 295. Brent Fikowski got 300. That was the year of Ricky Garrard when he got. That was like 2017. When he got tested.
I believe.
And he got like 300. So there were a few people with 300, and he got like 305.
He got 305. Okay, and now.
Yeah, there was.
And now I looked at the leaderboard.
Just look, Kara.
And the first 5 people. They were
320,
325, 315, 305, 305, 305. Winning weight for that workout it was single lift that time, but still, these people were hitting that weight after the run. And it's like at that time it was winning weight on CrossFit Games, and now on regionals, the guy who was 285. They even made a story on Morning Chalk Up about it. 285, which is, I mean, it's 10 kilos less, right? So
it's like
130. This guy was 15th. He did 285 pounds on that snatch, and he ended up 15th. It's like, what world is this?
And
like
the guy that won the event is 20 years old.
Yeah, I know. Like, I've seen that.
It's just he's my age. So.
This was actually his region. Yeah, this was.
Yes,
he was on the top. He was the 325 guy. Yeah. But just like the way it moved in 5-6 years. You think that was 2017?
So 6 years.
In 6 years, like a winning weight of CrossFit Games wouldn't even be enough for 3rd place in this workout.
Which is crazy. Yeah. At the top level of the games, not even the semifinals.
Yeah.
So
that was the best of the games.
Those weights blew me away. And then we rested 2 minutes. You had
2 minute rest.
2 minute rest. Then the next 6 minute time cap of 8 snatches, 800 meter run. Brent Fikowski, he finished sub 4 minutes for the snatches and the run. So his run was like 2.5 minutes. It was like, I'll check. We can check. It was sub 3, if I'm not mistaken. I might, but it was stupid. Him and Patrick Vellner actually won it, and then it was him by like a second. The speed that they ran that last 800 meter, like working that out.
That was sprint.
After running 800 meters, doing a 1 rep max lift, basically an 80%. Okay, for me, an 80% lift. 8 times, and then doing a sprint, like that is it's crazy. But I did that, did the snatches, got on the runner 3rd in my heat. So I was happy. I came off the runner, there were 10 people per heat. I came off the runner 9th. My little legs, I was like, I remember running and I was just watching, I was like, 150 meters to go, I will everything out. I was like, because if I go anything more, I know myself, I won't make it to the end. I'll start jogging for the last 50. I remember I was at 300 meters left and I looked across and the guy had his hand up. And I was like, he got on, like literally we got on at the same time. Like he was like bang, bang. And he's 300 meters ahead of me. Like, what is he doing that I like
300 meters ahead?
I could not believe it. I was like, your timer is, it's like, I thought I was running fast. Clearly.
So that was basically like
just sprinting the whole 800 meters.
Like 40% faster.
I was like, and so it's just stupid. And then next person, and then the guy next to me beat me in the snatch because it was Al Said Osana. He works at Fit Republic, and he's a ex-Olympic weightlifter. So he got like 126 kgs or whatever. So I was like, I have to beat you. And I could see him, and I was like, okay, no. And I started sprinting on like the last 200 meters, and it was me and then him, and that sucked. Like I felt, there's a photo of me actually lying on the floor, and Danny had the camera over, and she's got like this photo, and I was like, and she was like waving, and I was like, I just couldn't. I was dead. But it was cool. Good, like a better day than the first day was. So went home.
You felt better, yeah?
Felt a lot better. So we went home, and I wanted, the judges the night before had got given pizza. And Simon and them were outside, and Simon had got pizza and whatever. So he gave me a slice-side pizza. So I had that in my head the whole, like next day I was like, we're going for pizza. So we went and had pizza and that. And again, same thing, just relaxed, chilled, went to bed early. And now I woke.
Did you have problem falling asleep?
No.
No, like the emotions and everything?
The last day I did. So the Sunday night after everything, I struggled to sleep. But my biggest thing that I love is no matter how stressed or anxious or worried I get, if I fall asleep, I'm fine. Like I can just fall asleep and I'll wake up and everything's gone and I can.
Cool.
So I fell asleep fine. Then the third day was bittersweet because like it was like you're getting into it, you're getting used to it now. But it was also like you could see it was the end, and it was moving day for like everyone. It was like they were putting the final seal and everything. So event one,
oh, by the way, what was your overall standing roughly?
27th.
Like at this point?
No, at this point, 26th, I think, or 25th.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, so this one I was very excited for. It was 20 overhead squats at 185. 500 meter row.
Why not?
Yeah, 500 meter row. Then 3 pirouettes. So it was like a 5 meter handstand walk, pirouette, 5 meter handstand walk, pirouette, 5 meter handstand walk, pirouette.
Just for people who don't follow it too much, like only walking on your hands is not fancy enough for CrossFit anymore. So and you're either adding walking or parallels, or
walking up a ladder and down the ramp,
or pirouettes. And
so pirouette is basically just walking 360.
Yeah, you just basically turn on the spot.
So pirouettes, 3 pirouettes, then 2, and this was a spanner in the works as well, 2 legless rope climbs with a standard of, you started seated, and there were 2 tape lines. There was a bottom tape and a top tape, whatever heights that they had set. Feet had to be off the floor and off the mat. You carry on. If your feet touches, no rep, come down. Carry on legless. Hands have to be on or over the tape, both of them at the top. Come controlled down. And they were strict with this. Well, like I've seen a lot of but if you slipped like that, no rep, come down. Hand over hand, coming down.
Really?
Hands had to be below the bottom tape or on the bottom tape with your feet. You're basically you're in an L-sit position.
Yeah.
You didn't have to be in a perfect L-sit the whole way, but the bottom, because your feet couldn't touch the floor. Hands below that tape. The judge says, yep, and then you can let go. If you let go before that, if your foot touches, if your hand's above, or if you slip, like the tape was slippery, so people were trying to hold the tape and then their hand would slip. No rep, come down. And you're at the top and you're like joking. So 2 legless.
That's way more strict than it used to be, right?
Yeah. Like for this year, that was the first time that they had bought that. Yeah. So 2 legless row climbs, then 20 wall-facing handstand push-ups, then basically back down. 2 legless row climbs, pirouette, row, overhead squat.
What is the standard for the
handstand push-up?
Facing the wall.
They had a tape.
Because they started to do that one. I don't know why. Maybe because of so much people outside of CrossFit were making fun of all the banana positions, right? Yeah. So they changed it, but they started to do that. What is kind of standard there?
So they had a tape on the floor that was a set distance away from the wall, set distance apart. Your hands had to be, some part of your hand had to be on the line. So you could have just your thumb if you wanted. Okay. But
so it gives you some room to adapt for your parameters.
Yeah. But I'm like, screw you, tall people. That's your fault. So I had hands on the line. You had to walk up but you didn't have to wall walk down. So wall walk up, hold hands there. Your head had to touch the mat and then back up, just the mat, not the line or anything. And your feet weren't allowed to go wider than your shoulders.
Okay.
Wider than your shoulders. So they had to stay together.
And you can like shuffle your toes there?
Yeah.
That's allowed,
that was allowed as long as you... There was so much black and white, but basically you could just shuffle your feet up, but you couldn't walk your feet up. Mm-hmm. So you could, like your toes could, if they like stuttered up, that was fine, but you couldn't like bend your leg, climb the leg, bend the leg, climb the leg. They had to stay
because that's what I mean. Like some people, you can basically like do like a very bastardized standing bench press, kind of, completely bent, and then just step up the legs.
No, your feet had to stay within, and then they couldn't really bend. Also, you can't really bend your legs too much because you're facing the wall. So as soon as you bend your legs, your knees are going to hit the wall. It's pushing you.
You couldn't.
You can, but you couldn't because it's going to push you off the wall now.
Okay.
Because your hands are so close to the wall as well, your gravity is just going to go.
All right. It's just the judging standard. Sometimes it's pretty.
They were pretty good with us there. Like there was nowhere where I thought that they were like unfair or. Okay. And also, rules are rules. Like just why you don't like them, don't play. Like it's that simple. And then people ask stupid questions as well. Just honestly, like things that you can't even imagine you doing. You're just asking for the sake of asking or being the clown in the room. Like
you now you're talking about briefings,
yeah. I've never had briefings, so it was just anyway. So then
new experience,
so that was great. Like broke my overhead squats. I think I did. My goal was 12 and 8. I did 12, 7 and 1.
Very strategic.
That was purely strategy. And then I got on the rower, set it like a 150, which I was happy with, just smooth, because those first two things they could break your workout, but they weren't going to make your workout. Mm-hmm. So if you went and did 20 unbroken and then smashed a 145 on the rower, you're going to be dead and not be able to walk on your hands.
Have you been able to test this one before?
No. So I got sick before the competition. So I was sick 2 weeks before. So for 2 weeks I was sick. And then the week I arrived in South Africa, I finished like my medication and that week I was getting better.
What kind of sick?
Just like I had a fever. I had like throat. I was dehydrated. I was in like a prime medical on like a drip and that. I just cold, back achy, just flu, stress, like normal competition, like what I have experienced from a competition. So then did the pirouettes, was great. Like I was second in my heat at this time. Did the first 2 rope climbs, was great. Did the handstands because I was like, I'm happy with handstands. Broke them into, I can't even tell you what I broke them into. I think 5s maybe. Okay. Maybe 8, 7, and then like 4 and 3 or whatever it was. The second rope climbs. The first one got up, was cool, came back down, and then I couldn't get a second one. I sat there for, I think, 7 minutes.
Really?
Sitting there, trying to get a rope, I just sat there at a point, I was like, again, something like that, you can save your grip for the next day, or for the next workout, but I was like, I just got to try, because it was just my grip, like my shoulders, everything was just perfect, the grip. Like I couldn't close my hands anymore on the rope. Ooh. And I just knew if I could get this final one, I will be away. Like I can walk on my hands happily, I can row and I can overhead squat, like everything was cool. I just couldn't get that last rope climb. I got up, so I got like a little bit, slid back down. Then I got all the way up, just before, like maybe that much before the top line.
Couple centimeters.
And I tried to reach the touch and I just slipped all the way back down, slid down, like burnt my hands a little bit, and
no rep.
Just no rep, yeah. And then from that point, like when when you get to that point, that you're gonna be, if you fail that, you're probably not gonna get another one. Timer finished that one. I was frustrated with, but just again, it was ability, like it's just grip strength.
Do you remember also old video from CrossFit Games? You know what I'm going to say?
Rich Froning's one. His rope climb.
Yeah, that was Rich Froning's rope climb was one thing, but there was also Jason Kalipa trying to do handstand push-up. for like 5 minutes?
No, I haven't. I've seen his overhead squat when he runs like through the camera with his overhead squat. I've seen that one, but I haven't seen it.
No, this one was, I believe they had some kind of like slam ball and maybe like throwing it over shoulder and then running with it.
No, I haven't seen it.
And then there were parallel deficit handstand push-ups, and he was like smashing it, like he was winning the workout. And then I think he came like, if not last, then very close to last, because he couldn't do just that one handstand, and he always wanted to go just a little bit too soon, and that attempt cost him
more fatigue,
more fatigue, and it just this circle,
especially with a rope climb.
Even commentators like, just not yet, just stop,
like,
just wait for a bit and then go again.
Especially a rope climb, because that is a big rep.
It's not one rep.
No, it's
it's repeated.
It's like 20 bicep curls up, 20 bicep curls down. So just again relaxed after that one.
Do you think if you would have rest? But I mean, you will never know, right?
I don't know. I just look at it.
You will never know, even if you rest 2 minutes. That if it's worth it to spending that time.
I wouldn't know, but I just look at it like my forearms are just too weak. Gotta get stronger forearms, like.
That's very admirable attitude.
I can't do a lot about that. It's just that's what it's gonna.
That's very objective attitude. Well, didn't work. I got stronger. The bench press, I get stronger.
Yeah, that's basically it. Because I can't change the competition, and people that try and look for the competition to change, like, I think you're looking somewhere else and not actually looking at yourself. Because a lot of the time, and a lot of the problems in the world now, because people can't look at themselves and take ownership for themselves, they have to look at other people. So, then rested, ate, same thing like the days before. And the last workout was a sprint, flat out sprint, 3 rounds.
Oh, this wasn't the last one?
Yes, no, this is the last one now. So there were 7 events.
Oh, there were 7. Oh, I thought there was 6. Okay.
So there were 6, but the one was split into 2 scores.
Okay.
The time and the weight. Right. So 3 rounds for time, flat out sprint, 15 calories on the bike, 20 toes to bar, then like 10 meter sandbag carry, bear hug carry at 90 kgs. So 200 pounds. It was a 200 pound bag.
200 pound.
And that just 200 pounds is like that. Like, I can't close my hands on it.
Oh, really?
It was the.
It also depends what kind of bag you have.
It's not like the bags we've got. It's the like the WOD guys have their ones that are around.
These like the cheese shape.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, just broke up my thinking strategy. Break up your toes to bar, because that's 60 toes to bar. That's a lot after doing 4 legless rope climbs that morning. Did great. Round 1 was with everyone. Round 2 started to slow down a bit. People were just tearing that bag up. Like, they were just smashing the bike. Round 3 just struggled. I got time capped. I think I was the only person to get time capped as well for that out of Africa. Okay. So I think I finished 2 rounds. On the 3rd round, I finished the bike, finished the toes to bar, picked up the bag and did like 1 carry, like 1 block. So that was cool, because also the crowd, like the MC had got the crowd to like shout and that, which I was like, great, but everyone's eyes are on me now. Just suffering through this.
Well, you got your moment.
Yeah, exactly. But just again, tough, but learned a lot. Went home, ate, tried to sleep, couldn't sleep, just busy mind, because I was up early not early, but up the next day to come back. But it was a great weekend. Like, I had got a lot of experience of the feeling of what it was like to be there, because a lot of the time it's not your ability, it's like your physical ability, it's your ability to be around athletes like that, the music, the feet, like it's very different. Like, I went downstairs before the men's final event, and it was just cold. Like, the warm-up area was just ice cold. Like, everyone was in their zone, heads like down, because it was close. Like, first had first basically, but it was still within reach. Second, third, and fourth were like 1.2 points. So everyone was just like warming up, like big guys, and it's being okay, like being able to still perform, being in that environment. Learned that, like I said, learned a lot about myself and physically what I actually need to do for next year's training, because semifinals and quarterfinals are very different. As similar as they are, they're very different too. So just learning what level of training I need to be doing. Yeah.
Is there any one big lesson that, if you would like, just like one thing that really stands out, that one thing that you really, really learned from this experience?
My weight. Yeah. I didn't actually, like, I knew I needed to be stronger, and that was going to be the next thing that I was going to do anyway, but I didn't know I needed to be heavier. Like, I didn't know I needed to intentionally put on that weight.
The significance of the weight.
Yeah. So, and that's cool. Like, so that will be my next thing to try and figure out and start up, and which I have.
What would that 85 kilos would be like so your like 80, optimal goal?
84, 85. So I spoke to one of the coaches, so Christina, my friend that qualified. Her coach is CrossFit, like level 3 gymnast coach. Like, he's really experienced in the sense of he's worked with games athletes and that as well. And he was chatting to me, and he was the one who put the idea in my head and was like, these guys are smaller guys, but they need to be at this weight, because when you're small, it's one thing, but you have to be heavy enough. You can't just be, if you're too light, it's like
the sled, right? Like, it's very different to pull
like the snatch. Like, those guys are weighing 85, 90 kgs, snatching 120 kgs. That's a very good percentage, but my percentage at my body weight is better.
Yeah.
So if we were at Olympic weightlifting, great.
However, still, the higher you go with your body weight, the lower is the gap between maximal and relative strength, right? Relative being
body weight
compared to your body weight. And so you have I was on a strongman seminar with Rob Orlando in Abu Dhabi couple of years ago. It was when I came to Dubai, so it was almost 6 years ago, and we were just doing yoke carries for load, and there was one girl. She was from Gold Box at the time. She was coach there, Jess, and she carried on the yoke 4 times her body weight, which is like, yes, it is showing immense strength. Yeah. Nobody heavyweight considered will ever do it. Yeah. Like, it's just too far. Yeah. It's just too far from that. Yeah.
There is human ability as well.
Yes, exactly. There is some limits to it. So it's like, if a world-class strongman who is, like 150 kilos,
they're not going to lift 450 kgs.
He's not going to go 4 times that, which would be 600
actually.
600 carrying for a yoke 20 meters, and she actually made it look pretty okay. Yeah. You know? So this is the thing that theoretically your absolute weights might go up, but even though the relative might.
And that's like,
it's not just like for every kilo you will gain 7 kilos on the sledge.
Yeah. So it's like, and the way I'm going to try and do it is like smartly, because the heavier you get, your body's got to get used to that as well. So you jump on the pull-up bar, you go upside down, your body's going to feel it. Like you're going to know that you're heavier. So not just being big and like chunky, being big and still being able to be lean, like, and still being able to be conditioned. So I've always gone strength and then going and doing my conditioning. It's been hell when I try and do my conditioning again. So I'm going to try and like intertwine them a little bit, and again play around with it. Like,
and you programming for yourself now? Yes. Yeah. You're doing it for...
Yeah, so I did that last year as well. The whole of last year was my program.
I remember you were doing a Matt Fraser's program for a while.
So the year I came, so 2021, that end of that year, I started, when he first put out the program, I started doing HWPO. I did that all the way till quarterfinals of 2022. Like actually till like the February of that. And then I got sick because it was 4 hours of training a day plus work, and that it was just too much for me. And I was doing it in stupid hours of like waking up really early after going to bed late, and like not just being smart about it. So I stopped that, and I've always wanted a program for myself, just never made the leap to do it. And then after the last year when I didn't qualify, I was like, okay, let me just try. And I've done it. I've had some help with certain things in that, which will be the same this year, but the biggest majority of it and the decisions are mine.
Okay. if this is not a secret and you're open to share, what is going to be, or what was, because you were going that way a little bit as well, your strategy to gaining weight and getting stronger? Like, what your strength, like when you cycling strength or whatever you do, 12-week program or whatever program you do, like how it looks like and what is your food like? So how are you going to get that active, solid, high quality mass on?
So I want to try and do it as cleanly as possible with food wise. So not having, because I can get that weight easily by eating pizzas and burgers and just eating a lot of it.
Well, that's, for example, opposite of me. I couldn't, because for me it needs to be like, if I eat bad stuff, I don't gain. I just feel like shit.
So I don't feel like shit. Like I think my metabolism, like, it's just so just eating a lot more. I'm still figuring out the food side of things because I'm not very, I don't know a lot about that. So I'll be speaking to someone about that. And then the training side of things is a mixture of a lot of strict weighted body weight stuff. Simple back squat, deadlift, bench press, like presses, just cycles for the next 12 weeks, and then I'll reassess, see where I'm at, and then go again.
More like low rep scheme, higher rep scheme?
Yeah, more like a lower, like 3 to 5, 5 to 8, like so that. Like,
so basically nothing super revolutionary, just stuff that works.
Just that's it. Like, it's simple. And
just
then
actually doing it.
And that's the hardest bit. And then a lot of Olympic weightlifting of snatches, clean and jerks, just moving that weight as well, because I don't want to just be strong that way. I still want to be able to move, because you can get really strong like this, and your mobility is now like overhead into a snatch is shocking. So doing that, and then every now and again doing my, like, throughout the week, a Metcon or a conditioning piece, just something so that I don't come too far back from that.
How much of the load, and you can go into like an example of a week, for example, can your nervous system take? Now, I know everybody's different, so the fact that you can take it doesn't mean everybody can do it. But like, how many times you can do heavy lift and also Olympic weightlifting and also weighted gymnastics?
So generally I just feed, like, the gymnastics and that I'll feed into the weightlifting. So if I do like the main lifts, like your bench press, squat and that, I'll just do that, and then afterwards I'll do my supersets and stuff like
Same
that.
Day.
Yeah. So like today I squatted and I was doing some snatches and that. Like last week and this week have been generally just one session, just moving back into it. So I haven't.
You just finished.
So I haven't like properly. And then like tomorrow we'll go to like bench press, clean and jerk, and then some accessories, whether that's, today will be core, like grip or whatever. And then it's a rest day. So I go 2 rest, then 3 rest.
All right.
And then the 3.
So you go, let's say Monday, Tuesday,
Wednesday rest. And that'll become more of an active recovery, but right now it's just rest.
Okay. Yeah. And what kind of active recovery?
Whether that's going through more, when it's active recovery, it's more low impact. So I can still get my heart rate up, but I'm not running, or I'm not doing box jump. I'm doing stuff like generally this Concept 2 bike, because it's easy on the joints, and just moving on that, whether that's intervals or zone 2. And then,
so zone 2 means longer sustainable pace.
That, and then it's just playing around with how I feel as well, because like I might have a plan, and this week I feel like I'm fine, my traps are okay, snatching today and clean and jerking tomorrow, but they might not be, and they might actually be absolutely wrecked. So it's like, well, it's not very clever to go and do clean and jerks then and force yourself to do that. So it's like, okay, well, what can you do? You can still do bench press. So bench press, and then maybe do something else, like something that's not sore. Do that.
That's the advantage doing it for yourself, because you can. You always have that wiggle room, and
so I can just, right now in the season as well, or like starting off season, whatever you would call it. I just, it's more enjoying it, more. Just not being, it's not as like, have to do this. As long as I'm hitting, there's certain things that I want to hit. Like I need a squat, I need a deadlift, I need a bench, I need a clean and jerk, and I need a snatch. Like to fit that in, like, and then how it goes in can change, and I'm not too strict about that right now.
And how many of these, let's say 12-week cycles of you do 3 weeks loading, then 1 week a little bit lighter?
4 and then 1. So 4 weeks and then
4 and then 1. Okay. That's also the individual.
Yeah.
Depends on how.
Yeah. So I'll try this first 12 weeks. I'll try 4 and 1, and then if it's too much, I'll go to 3 and 1.
Yeah.
Just see how I feel. Basically, just listen to my body, because I go and do 5 or 6 or whatever, and then I'm hurt. And it's not.
So let's say you do that 4 and 1 twice, right? So that's 10 weeks, and then how much do you? So you test, retest what happened.
I might not test I try not test too many 1 rep maxes and that.
Well, I don't mean 1 rep maxes. You can test 5 rep max, right?
So I'll look at myself, and I'll look at like what I weigh, what I look at, like how I feel. And if I say at this stage it's weight, if I don't weigh enough, then it'll be like, okay, do I need to change the training a little bit? Because also you can look at your body and be like, has my body actually changed?
Yeah.
And if it hasn't, then you're not doing something, like the training isn't working or something, you need to change something. So I'll look at my body weight and then adjust whether that's food, because my food intake, because my training might increase, my food intake is going to have to increase. So just listening to that. Also trying not to get hurt, trying to keep my body.
It's a good plan.
Healthy.
It's a very smart plan. How many of these
blocks will I do?
Blocks will you stack up until you, let's say you start really dialing for the next open? Or
probably 6 months, the next 6 months. So that whatever weeks that works into. Yeah. I think it's 12, it's 3 weeks. So 2 12-week blocks. And then I'll look at myself again and just see where I'm at. So if I'm, for argument's sake, because to put on that much weight in that time isn't easy. It's not like, and I'm not naive to that.
I mean, maybe that shouldn't, just from my perspective, I mean, you do you. I just like getting 8 kilos up of a quality mass. Maybe 6 months not enough.
And that's cool. That's a goal. So whether that, this thing is, it's not for 1 year. It's for 2 years, 3 years.
Well, if we will meet like this next year after you're going to the games, and we will, and you will be at your baseline 82. That's a massive success.
Exactly. Yeah. Like it's. So I'll probably give myself 6 months, because then that'll give me another 4 to 6 months for the open, because I know I don't have to be ready for the open. I have to be able to be ready for quarterfinals and semifinals. So I'll start with that. Like now, like I said, I'm doing my conditioning and that, but then it'll start. So I look at it like right now my program is 90%, a lot of like just weights, bodybuilding, like accessory stuff. And then 10% conditioning, metcons, gymnastics, like that stuff. Kipping, gymnastics, not strict really. And then as I get to the 6 month, it'll start leaning towards more balanced, but a bit more like 60-40. And then as the season goes on, it starts leading towards 90% that, because that's what we do. It's everything. It's not just one linear.
Yeah. Are you not afraid of, you're not afraid of not making the open then? You're not really
winning the open? Winning the open?
No, making it through the open. Because you said the open is not you said open is not the focus. You're focusing on training for other stuff.
So I'm not. It does worry me, because I'll always worry about that. No matter, even if I qualify for the games, I'll still the next year be like, hey, it's always because it's there. Like you don't know. You have no idea. You've got no control. That's why I'm asking. So I do worry about it, and I will coming up to the open. We'll do a lot more open style things. But try and not be, I like this word, but I also don't like it, not be peaked for the open. I don't like that in the sense also, because I like the idea of being ready. Like you're not going to be at your best ever all year round, but I like to think that you want to try and be as ready as possible all year round. So, and just training, using it for. Are
you going to do some local comps as well?
So I got asked.
Because you did quite a few with the teams.
So I haven't decided yet, because also they don't get announced until a few weeks before them. So there was the Raptors one last weekend, and I got asked to do that one, and I was playing around with the idea of it, but it was on the Saturday, and Saturday is my only day to where there's no alarm. and I can just like relax. And I haven't had that yet. Because I arrived straight back into the week of work. So I was like, I ended up saying no. I was like, I just want to relax. I don't want to go straight back the week back. But yes, I do. I might do not turf games, the teams, like teams of 6, the teams of 2, I think it is. I still haven't decided that's going to be played on my programming. If I'm actually, I don't have to be very, very fit for that. But if I'm at like a 60-70% level, I'd like to do it to actually just have some fun with it, with one of my friends.
So you're not strictly Okay.
If a competition comes up and it's more, if it's an individual, which there's not a lot of, because people that run the competitions people don't like to do individual because it's a lot harder. They like to do teamwork, team things, especially locally.
Locally, but also you have a way bigger attendance. You have very bigger fuzz about it because people dragging people,
and that's
teams
cool.
of 4, teams of 6.
If there's one, and I can, I probably won't do the teams of 6 for turf games, but that's not a no. But I probably I'm like Rich phoning and retiring. But
some people, if they want to, they should book you in advance. Right?
I'm going to be a caddy boy. I think Danny's doing it, so I'll come and support instead this time.
Yeah.
So no, if I'd probably do Sand Clash again, which is in Saudi. I enjoyed that last year, and that was a good time as well. To see where a good point to assess where I am for the year.
Was it well run?
It was. I enjoyed. Yeah, it was. And there was drug testing, which I liked.
Nice. Okay, and that was individual.
Yes, and team. There was a team as well.
All right.
I just think that people should start announcing who've been caught.
Yeah. I also want to ask, now this is kind of in your timeline, it's going a little bit back, but we didn't really cover how you actually got to Dubai. And to coaching overall.
Okay, so coaching, when I left school to do the competition, the European Champs, I came back and basically was just finding places in the UK or America or Australia, just looking to find places, and I hadn't found any. And then I just started into coaching. It's just being in the gym there training. I wanted to do something. So I started coaching and that. And it grew on me more and more. And I started to love it more and more and actually enjoy it because it was also, I didn't want to do I can't do what I'm doing and do a 9 to 5. I have to be, so I'm in the gym all day. I can train whenever I want to, not whenever I want to, but around the schedule.
That's only a romantic idea of many wannabe athletes and coaches that you're a coach so you can train anytime. Yeah.
So around my classes and clients, I train.
When you start coaching, you were coaching the kids from the school?
Yes. So, so when I started, so the school came to the gym because they were still apart, and they wanted us to take their physical education, so their PE. I had no qualification. I hadn't even been qualified in CrossFit yet. Because I was too young to get my level 1, because there's an age thing. So I was 16. So I started with the coaches there, and we were like, yeah, sure. And started coaching 18-year-olds, 17, 16, 15. All my friends from school were coming through the gym, and we were teaching them PE. So from 13 years old till 18, we were teaching them physical education. So everything from the body to food to training, different sports specific, all that type of stuff.
So let me get this right. I want to say quit. You left school because you didn't quit. You decided you don't want to go there anymore. We can call it whatever.
You can call me a dropout. That's what most people,
I mean, that's not my intention at all. That's why I wanted to save it.
I don't mind.
Yeah. So you decided you're not continuing with the school, but dropout implies that
you failed.
There's no plan. But you left for a reason, and you had your plan.
Strategically left,
as you described very well. Exactly, as a strategic exit. So you left there.
Yes.
And you slowly, somewhere became coach.
Yeah. So because the gym was there, so I was spending my days there anyway.
You were there training and coaching. And then you were coaching people who were your classmates as a kind of a part of a company that was providing PE for them.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And it was cool because I learned a lot as well, because I wasn't the one just running it. There were other coaches there, and I was learning from them human body, and it was also like I needed to teach as well. So it's like we need to teach them about sort of like your human body. So it's like, okay, go home, do research, come back, teach them. And so it was really cool and good experience. I think I did that for like a year. And I was coaching like personal training kids from the school. They would be like, oh, can you train me? Like, yeah, why not? Like, okay, I may as well. Yeah. I don't like to say no if you haven't picked that up. So I was coach them, personal train them. And we were in a different building at this time. So our building was getting renovated. So we were on the school's tennis court, actually, under a tent. So I was coaching kids, coaching classes, and then teaching at the school. And then COVID happened, and everything, like the gym closed, the school closed, like the whole world basically shut down. And we were moving out of the tent anyway because the building was getting ready, but it was all new equipment. So I took equipment from the gym to take care of, because I was like, if it's going back in there, like, you guys are going to throw it in a container, I'll keep some at the house or whatever. I had hurt my back that week of COVID lockdown, like the week before. So I wasn't training, or I couldn't move properly. I was doing rehab and everything. And I was coaching people still around town, and I had the bars, I had the weights and everything. So I was driving around coach, because Zim didn't experience a lockdown.
Okay.
Like companies were closed and all that, but you could basically do whatever you wanted. It was like, there was no formality to anything really. So I was like, cool, free fall with work.
There wasn't a fine for you getting somewhere.
Well, there was, but it's also like you knew where to go, like where the roadblocks were, and Zim is very corrupt. So it's not surprised. Yeah. Anyway.
No, but actually I wanted to ask, might be super stupid, but I really don't know. What is the weather like in Zimbabwe?
Perfect. Like,
what is that like? What do you mean?
18 to 25 all the time.
All year?
Yeah. Like, it'll get, like, winter gets pretty cold in the mornings. It'll get to like 3-4 degrees. It can get but for like an hour. So you're shivering for like an hour, and then the sun comes out, and it's like, it's amazing. It can get hot in the sun when the sun's out, but then it's cool in the shade. So like, it's just really nice. No humidity, no, like it rains, like it's just
really more stable. Yeah. Okay.
So then was
lockdown.
So I was doing that. Then the gym opened. So I started working in the gym. I then had done my level 1, actually just before lockdown, the week before lockdown. Then coached through lockdown.
Where you did the level 1?
CrossFit Pretoria in South Africa.
Oh, in South Africa.
Yeah. So I flew to South Africa. Then, lockdown happened. We went into the new building, and I had a friend who used to work with us, Maps, who worked with us in the gym. He flew and he moved to Dubai, like 2018. And he started working here and that, and worked in a gym, I don't know where, and then moved to Saudi and started living and training and working in Saudi. And he was a personal trainer for a client. So basically, I personal train you. And he, over lockdown, lived in the guy's house, like put him in the like bedroom, built him a gym, trained him, whatever. Then we phoned him, and I was chatting to him, and he was like, what are you doing? You're just staying there. Like, you're going to get nowhere. You're going to be stuck there, because that's what happens. You live in Zim. If you don't get out, you're just going to be stuck in a rut. And I didn't want that either. So he was like, look at the Middle East. I was like, where? He's like, the UAE. I was like, what's that?
Never heard of it.
I was like, I don't know. He's like, Dubai. And I was like, I think I know Dubai. I was like, and only from like Fast and the Furious or stuff like that. So I was like, okay, I'll go look at that.
That's a good start.
Yeah. So he went.
Tom Cruise climbing the Burj Khalifa.
So he
said, I know that's not Fast and Furious, just for the record. I know that's a different series.
So he sent me, he was like, Dane, look at Kuwait, Doha, Abu Dhabi, Dubai. Like, he gave me a list of places. So I went on, like, I think it was not LinkedIn, Indeed, whatever. So a job site.
I know what that said. Yeah.
So I went in, filled out the details, was looking. There was nothing. Then it must have been 6 months or even a year later, after like looking and not finding anything, that like I also wasn't really because it was easy. It's just easy.
You just like put it out there, but yeah.
Then he phoned and he was like, Dane, I'm coming back home. I've been offered these 2 jobs. I'm obviously moving home, so I have to say no. I've put your name forward. I'm sending them to you. You are going to put your CV through and speak to them. It was obviously Sans, and I don't know what the other one was. I can't remember, and I can't find the messages where I didn't know what.
And how he came into
he had got offered them. So I think Cyrus knows maps through somebody and through the industry and that, and through a friend, I think. Okay. So then I messaged, and Sans was the one that was the first one. He said, "Don't do this one." So I went for that one, and literally a few months interview. I can't remember how long. It must have been like 4 or 5 months of like just interview. We had Zoom calls and all that stuff. And actually, because of my age, Cyrus was interested and he liked it. He liked because I was also like, my CV is blank. It's like CrossFit level 1. Like I got no.
I'm 18-year-old and I'm CrossFit level 1. Like, take me.
Yeah. And he basically did and took a chance of like, okay.
Well, he gained an asset.
Yeah, and I'm thankful because it changed my life. So yeah, and then he was like, I was thinking of the day that I get the app, like sign the contract in that from then I'll give myself a month to like pack up, say bye, whatever. He was like, when are you ready? Like, when can you come over? And I didn't expect that. I expected like a date. So I was like, when do you want me? Like as soon as possible, like tomorrow.
And he's like 6 a.m. tomorrow.
So he was like, how's 1 week? So I was like, perfect, let's do 1 week. Yeah. And literally from a week later, I booked my tickets, did all that stuff, had my bags packed, said bye to some, because the lockdown happened again, like a second lockdown. But we could still fly out and all that stuff. And basically paid my tickets and then flew over. Didn't know anybody. I was in comms with Pam, like messaging Pam and Justin from who used to be at Sands as well. Justin, I can't remember his surname. Anyway, he's in South Africa. Anyway, messaging them saying like properties, because I didn't know where to live. I didn't know where I was going. Like only on the plane here did I look at where, like the map where I was going. So I was like, yeah, I'm going there.
That's why it's there.
Yeah.
That's why Emirates has the map there.
So then I found a place and I was like, okay, I'll take it, because I didn't know what cost of living was going to be. I didn't know anything. I was like, I'm just going. If I don't like it or it doesn't work, I'll come back.
Yeah.
And
so you didn't know your salary, or you had some idea?
I knew I had a, what's it called? Probation. And then I had my salary, so I knew what that was. And Maps,
but you couldn't match it against cost of living there. Yeah.
So I spoke to Maps, the guy that helped me, and I was like, "What's this?" He's like, he gave me a ballpark, and he was like, "That's okay to start off with," and that. So it's cool. It's like, okay, if he says I can live on it, I have to be strict, but I'll come. So I came over and landed, went to the flat. And then just basically went to the gym, had a meeting with Cyrus and Phil, met them, did like shadowing for that afternoon. I like shadowed and just watched just to see everything, and then started work the next day. So I landed the 26th. I started work on the 28th.
That was a speed process.
Yeah. I was like, but I mean, I had nothing. I was like, what am I going to go there and wait? I don't know anybody. I don't know anywhere. I don't know anything. I was like, I may as well just start working and just go with the flow.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Paid off.
Yeah. That's 2 years later, nearly. Well, yeah.
Yeah? Is it 2 years?
Nearly. End of July will be 2 years.
End of July. Oh, you came in the middle of summer.
Yeah. So when people are like, oh, Dane.
Welcome to the hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, one of my friends was like, welcome to the desert. And I was like, yep.
Maybe I said this story before. When I landed first time here, it was October, beginning of October. And
it's humid then as well.
Yeah. And that time, I don't know, it was pretty bad. I mean, but I didn't know, right? Like what to expect.
Neither did
and I got, we didn't have the tunnel, but we were going to the bus.
Okay,
so like going out and to the bus. And I went out and it was the A380, so biggest plane in the world, right? For the civil purpose, like the aviation purpose. And so I get out on the stairs and I was like, fucking hell, like this engine is really hot, you know, like the heat from the engine. And I go down and the heat was still there. I was like, oh shit, this is not from the engine.
I remember walking out, like I remember being in the air and I was landing at like 7 a.m. and I remember being in the air and it was hot. And normally up in the air, it's cold. And we landed and I got out and obviously Dubai airport, aircon, so we got guided because at this time it was still COVID and PCR tests and doing all this stuff. And I actually never checked my PCR results because I didn't know. I thought they'd phone me or message me. So they put the stamp on it. I didn't know about QR codes and that because we didn't have that in Zim at the time either. So it's like stamped this and I've still got it on my passport. It's like I don't even know what my result was, if I was positive or negative. I was like, I don't care. So
I mean, that time,
it was also
they might not know because it was a big mess.
Yeah, it was finishing then as well. Like, so anyway, I got guided and got my bags, got my SIM card, and I remember walking out the doors. And as the doors opened, it was like a blanket had hit me. I was like, whoa, because also it was hazy as well. So like there was a sandstorm, like a sandstorm.
What time of the day was it?
So 7 a.m.
7 a.m. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's good already.
Yeah, and I was like, 7 a.m. is normally meant to be. That's our coldest time in
July.
And then I got home and slept and whatever, and then tried to make my way to the gym. So Pam had said, Dane, get a null card for the buses. So I was like, cool, got that. And then I was bored. So I was like, I'm just going to go find the gym and then I'll loiter around or whatever in the area. So I walked to a bus stop. I walked past one bus stop to get to another bus stop because I didn't see that one, and waited there, got on the bus. I was like, is this going to Motor City? I don't know where Motor City is. I don't know where. They're like, no, this is going to, they're like, this is the Mall of Emirates one because it like loops around. I was like, okay, I guess so. Now I know where the Mall of Emirates is. And it carries on driving. And then it goes to the first bus stop, and I don't know where we're at. We're like by the, the Foot Lab in Sport City.
Yeah.
So I get off that bus because I'm like, I don't want to miss my stop. And so I get off because I've also only got a limited amount of money and I've only got cash because this isn't, and you can't pay cash on the bus. It has to be the card.
Yeah.
So I get off and I phone Pam. I'm like, Pam, I'm at this place. I'm like outside the Foot Lab. She's like, no, you're very far away from the gym. She's like, you should have, I was like, you said to take the bus. She said, no, you should take a taxi now, like for the first day. I'm like, okay. So I took a taxi and I jumped on the bus again. I was like, no, I can figure this out. So I carried it on and it took me past the Motor City, the Sands turn off into the Motor City, Uptown Motor City by like Pickle and all the food restaurants. So it dropped me outside Pickle. I got off the bus there. And I was standing there and I was like, hang on, like, I don't know where the gym is. It says it's over here. And I'm like turning. And then Pam was like, Dane, just get in a taxi and tell them.
At least you had an app and navigation.
But now this is now 11 o'clock in the day.
Okay. So
it was like 12 o'clock actually, I think, somewhere there. And I'm like in the sun and I'm like hiding under the shade, like trying, because everything outside is closed because there's aircon on, so no one sits outside. So like I'm like in like one little shady corner and I get in a taxi anyway. A taxi takes me to the gym, and then getting to that building, trying to find my way around the building, I was like, this is a joke. I was like, where's a gym? This is not a gym. Why is a gym in this thing? And then now, like, obviously I'm like stupid, like the signs were there and that, but yeah, and just started right away.
And you already had an apartment when you came here?
Yes, I had organized, so I couldn't pay for it. I needed to pay, I had the money to pay for it, but I didn't have an online card. So we had organized online and I just asked Cyrus, like I needed to pay the deposit, and I was sharing something at the time. Okay. It was like, I think it was 2,000 dirhams a month.
Okay.
Everything paid for, fully furnished. Like, it was a big scam. Like afterwards, now that I'm more, because it was a studio split into 2-bed. So my bedroom, like,
what?
Yeah,
studio turned into a 2-bedroom.
Yes. And I shared with some other person, and like this is bigger than what it was. Like I was like half of this, maybe like by the cupboards there, all the way to me. This from me there, that's my bedroom. Mm-hmm.
So pretty much space for bed and maybe one chair.
Bed, like a small dressing table thing, and the lady that I was sharing with had the inbuilt cupboard. So I had a bought cupboard from IKEA or whatever, like a 2-thing cupboard. That's all that I could fit in there.
Lucky you didn't come with too much stuff, right?
I had one suitcase when I arrived. Yeah, I was like, I don't need anything.
Me too. Yeah.
Now I've got a whole house.
I even had a bet that time.
A bet.
Like I betted.
A bet.
A coach, a head coach who I was when I was coming. He was like, when I came, I fit all my stuff into a 25 kilo suitcase, and I was like, wait a minute. It was on the WhatsApp. I was still at home. I was like, I'll be under 20. Yeah. I was like, if you're under 20, I owe you a 6-pack of a beer. You know? And I was 17 kilos when I came here. So
my uncle has a saying: if it doesn't fit in a suitcase, you don't need it. You got to go. And I literally just had my one suitcase and my backpack, with my.
But now it's way different, right?
Now I've got a bed, a fridge, a microwave. Like I've got everything now.
Every moving, and I moved so many times in Dubai. Like it's not even funny. Like in the first 2 years, I moved like 7 times because of different circumstances. Yeah. But every time I moved, I was like, "Well, this needs to stop soon." Because all the time you just go
even
more
now
and more
we're moving
stuff.
again now, and I'm like, how much stuff is there? I'm like, this is absolute rubbish. Like I got to get rid of this, got to get that, and then but you keep.
And how much is it different than? Compared to the situation when you actually came with one suitcase, not much, right?
No, it's the exact same thing. Like I haven't changed jobs. I haven't I'm still in this same routine. I've just got more things. But yeah, it's been cool. It's been just a great experience, and I'm very happy to have come across that.
Outside of getting stronger and getting your grip stronger and bench press stronger, what are the plans?
Not a lot really, basically that, and then just repeating a lot of what I did last year. I'm very happy with a lot of what I did, which is good in a way as well, because I now know that I was on the right track, and the same thing will happen next year where I'll be on the right track, and then there'll be a few things, or maybe I might be on the wrong track. So I'm going to keep a lot of the stuff when I say the same, obviously not the same workout, but what I was doing,
the framework,
the framework, and that will stay very similar, and just keep retesting myself, whether that's in benchmark workouts or in competitions, and because every competition as well, what I realized is it's obviously nice to win, but doing I signed up for DCC, I signed up for all these competitions, and not making them was cool because I could see where my worst workouts were compared to people, but my better ones were. So I knew what to tailor and move. Like coming up to the Open, I didn't touch a bar for 2 months. I hadn't snatched, I hadn't cleaned a jerk.
Any reason for that?
Because at that, my snatch and clean and jerk was really good compared to my conditioning. My conditioning was shocking. And
shocking, not in a positive way.
It was I just detested machines. I knew they were good and they were beneficial, but I never pushed myself on them. So I was spending a lot of time on the machines and a lot more time running and conditioning and all that type of stuff. I hadn't touched a lot of the weights in that because I was like, I need that needs to rest a bit. And then I started picking it up again for quarterfinals and that. But that I probably won't go that extreme again. I might mix it in again because I've got a bit better of a base.
Cool.
But yeah.
Is there anything you want to add?
No, I think we've covered everything. Basically.
All you. All you. Cool.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Thank you so much. And, in future, we'll probably do some repeats.
Yes.
And discuss the journey further.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I'll be a bit more secretive next time. No, I'm joking.
Well, we'll go into even more detail.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Thank you so much.